Hi guys, howdy do. I'm Karen Adamski with ShamaMama.com, and today is day number 29 of my one video blog a day for 30 days project. I've been doing these just to kind of get more comfortable with being on the computer and camera and all of that. So I'm getting there. Still not comfortable, but I am definitely more comfortable than I was before, so that's a good thing. So anyway, day 29, woohoo! And it's funny because yesterday I did my video blog for day 29, and I did it out in the front yard with my iPhone, and then I uploaded it to YouTube, and there's some problems. So I just was getting frustrated and said, oh, forget it. I just deleted it, and I'm starting over today with a different topic. And the reason I'm starting with a different topic is because somebody emailed in a question, and it's such a good one that I wanted to answer it right away. So the question is, what's the difference between meditating and journeying? And it's such a good question. There's so many similarities. But then there's differences as well. So meditating, I would say, is where you journey inward and you reach your core and that center of yourself and look for answers within yourself. And it's that place that brings you to that really relaxing, Zen, grounded place. And journeying is that as well. Although the training involved between meditating and journeying is probably different. My experience was that they were different in learning how to do the two. But journeying is really getting to that place of an altered state of consciousness like you would get to via meditation. But with the journeying, it's more exploratory. So once you get to that place, then you kind of take an adventure. You go out in search of places and things that you haven't seen, or places you haven't been to maybe, or go to a place where you can meet with somebody who has an answer to whatever your question is. So it's just very different. It's like journeying opens you up to just a whole worlds of things that you might have imagined, possibly, like fantasy type landscapes and things like that that you may have thought about, but in this world here have never seen. So it's cool. It's really, really cool. And I can tell you that if I were in your shoes and I was sitting there watching me saying this, I would probably be, years ago, prior to me going through this, I would have been very skeptical, and might have just, changed the channel, because I'd be like, okay, cuckoo, go away. But that's not me anymore. I was like that, but it's not me now. I would have maybe even been cynical about all of this in the past. So I think it's something that you kind of have to experience and go there and see it and feel it and understand it to really get it. But I think just keeping the door open a crack, just keep it a little bit open to the fact that you can go in these other places via journeying. I think that might be helpful. Gosh, that was kind of bossy. I shouldn't be telling you what to do. That's just a suggestion, really. And that's only a suggestion coming from where I was, because I did not have that door open, and I wish that I would have, because I might have been at this place years ago, and I think that would have been wonderful if that had happened. So anywho, so the training, like I said, is very different. With meditation, it's really, that focus, focusing on your third eye, or focusing on a thought, focusing on an item, focusing on a flame in a candle, that kind of thing, and really just kind of singular focus to get yourself to that state of altered consciousness. And that's really what meditation is all about. Now, journeying, you get there the way I was taught by my professor is different than starting out with meditating. So how he taught us was to think of a place that is relaxing for you, that it's beautiful and has, you know, good memories, and preferably someplace outdoors. And I tried a number of different places when I was getting started, and it was hard. I tried time after time after time after time, and I just wasn't getting there. And our ultimate goal was to journey and end up in what's called the lower world, because in shamanism you have the upper world and the lower world, and our world here is kind of in between. But they're places that are where you can go and make you know, contact with spirits. It's a different dimension, basically. Again, keep that door open a little bit. So that's where we were trying to get to the lower world when I was being taught. And I finally ended up taking a different path, and it kind of worked for me. I could tell, oh, this might be it. And I'll share with you the path that I took in learning to get to the lower world, just to give you an idea of how to get there versus, you know, meditation. So, and it's not something that I would typically share, but because it is a sacred thing to me, but I think it would help to share it just so to give other people an idea of how somebody learns to travel to the upper or lower world. So what I did, as in my mind, imagined myself going, it was in Kauai. We went down these, oh gosh, what are they? They're like irrigation ditches that went from the very top of this mountain, I don't remember the name of it, and all the way down to the pineapple and sugar cane crops. And so the water the rainwater from the top of the mountain would go down these man-made rivers and go out and water all the crops. And so they don't do that anymore necessarily, but those ditches are all still there, and they have this thing where you can go down and ride inner tubes, and you just kind of go down these ditches, and it's really cool because they go kind of down these little waterfalls and then into caves that go through the mountains. So you're in there with this, you know, hard hat thing with a light on there, and I think we had to turn our lights off, so it was, yeah, just pitch black. Anyway, I took that whole memory that our family, we all, you know, went on this family trip and did that. It was just really cool. It's kind of like going through Jurassic Park, because it's up in this area where, you know, there's no people living up there or doing anything, so it's just way out there in the middle of nowhere. So that's where I brought myself. So picture myself floating in the inner tube, going down the river and going into the cave, and you know, so it was like, okay, this is feeling better for me. And then it would change after each trip. It's like I could get farther and farther. So it got to the point where you could kind of go through into one of the caves, and then one time I came across a kind of it was like a dream catcher almost. It wasn't a dream catcher, but it's kind of like a net of webs, cobwebs, that I had to kind of make my way through. So once I got through there, the feeling was very different. And I think that happens a lot when you're journeying, that there's something that you have to break through to get to that other world. So anyway, I didn't know that at the time, but that's kind of what happened. Went through the webs, and then going down the river, and then it kind of went down this, took a turn and just went down like a whirlpool, and there was a sea turtle there that helped me. I just kind of could hang on to him, and he would guide me. I could breathe underwater. And then popped up in this underground cave that was just really cool. And then there was like a ledge there that I could climb out of the water and get on this ledge. And on the wall by the ledge, it was filled with, this is going to sound creepy, but it wasn't creepy, filled with all these like eyes of people, and they would blink, and it was just weird. The whole wall was covered with all these different eyes, and they're watching me. And then I noticed off to the left there was like a little hole, and I went down into that hole, and it was like a tube slide, kind of. It's like really cool, like a water slide almost. And it just plopped me out into this little section, kind of cave alcove area, and it was filled with feathers. So it was a really soft landing, and then in front of me was the lower world. So I'll just kind of stop there and not give any more details what my lower world is all about, because it's my lower world. But that's how I got there eventually, the first time. So that's kind of gives you an idea of how to get to your place of that altered consciousness within journeying versus meditation, which is more of that singular focus. So I think the real difference is there, gosh, you're just really, within shamanism, you're really keeping a solid foot in our ordinary state of consciousness and an altered state of consciousness. And you are taught to be able to manage those together. Whereas when you're meditating, you get to that place where, you know, people can be talking around you and you might not hear them. Sometimes it's, you know, you really go to that altered state of consciousness and leave the ordinary world behind sometimes. So that's really kind of what the difference between the two is. But again, lots and lots of similarities. So I hope that makes sense. I don't need to go down that path anymore. It's common that, you know, when you take that trip to your upper world or to your lower world, and you take that path over and over again, it just becomes easier and easier each time. And now I'm really, you know, it's to the point where I can just sort of sit down, state my intention, and usually by the time I'm done with stating my intention, I'm going. So it's almost just like going through it's like a vortex. It's like a tunnel. Just, it's hard to explain, but it's just super easy. So I don't have to go down that path anymore. Is my point. It was a teaching practice for a long time to get me to where I am now. So pretty cool. So I hope that answers your questions. I have a feeling I may have created more questions for you. So if that's the case, let me know what you're wondering about, or what I was maybe unclear about, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow for video blog number 30. It's my last one, so I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but that'll be exciting. So anyway, be well, be happy, be kind, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, namaste.